So today, let's talk about, we've said secrets to maximize your credit card benefits, but it's not so secret. And I want to make sure that you know all of the details. So let's just pause for a second and think about, make sure that you've come to the right webinar. So today I'm going to talk about how do you earn credit card rewards faster than you're currently doing it? Number two, which credit card is the best one for your needs? And then number three, combining number one and two together, how do you then turn that into flying business class for half the price? So if that's what you're interested in listening to today, you've definitely come to the right place. But before we get started, I'm really curious to see what kind of people we have in the audience today. So I would love for you to drop in the chat, which of these do you most resonates with? When you're using your credit card, how are you using it? So the first two are for personal reasons. Are you using it for your daily necessities, going to restaurants, shopping for food or shopping for clothes? Or are you using it for your large expenses like your rent, your mortgage, your loan, even tuition? Or do you use your card more for your business expenses, day-to-day employee expenses like traveling and entertaining clients, all those large business expenses like payroll, supplier invoices, rent? 5, none of the above, and actually 6, all of the above. So I'm curious, drop in the chat what kind of numbers you're seeing. Okay, so 1 and 2, lots of people. Okay, of course, I should have expected this. You are all followers of KC, so I know you're very savvy credit card users. So good to see that you got a lot of 1s and 2s here. We've got 1, 3. Okay, great. Thanks, Lee Bernard. And 6. Okay, all of the above. Wow, Leland, you're a super user. That's great. Okay, great. Well, I'm excited to talk to you all today because really, I'm going to explain to you how you can make sure that you're also doing number 2 and number 4. So let's get into it. So I don't need to tell you what common ways of paying for your bills in Malaysia are, right? You've got bank transfers, you've got FPX, you've got Do It Now, you've got JomPay. But I think the key thing that I want to highlight here is we often think of these as non-card payments, right? Typically, when you use a card, you get to benefit from the rewards and the benefits that the card offers, whereas these more traditional methods don't afford you that same opportunity. So if you think about it this way, our card expenses, that was bucket 1, dining, entertainment, shopping, etc. You guys are already professionals. You're already putting those expenses on your card. But typically, we have this whole other part of our life, which we call non-card expenses. So depending on what school of thought you subscribe to, I've heard, advice saying, don't let your rent every month be more than 30% of your salary. Some people say 50% of your salary. Either way, that's a significant proportion of your monthly spend that you're not putting on your card, because typically a landlord doesn't accept a credit card. So if you look here at that list, we're talking rent and mortgage, education fees, insurance, car loan, renovation. If you're thinking about or have ever gone through a house renovation, I'm sure you can appreciate how expensive that is. And then it also applies on the business side, right? Where if you're settling an invoice with your supplier, you're having to adhere to the payment terms and make a massive bank transfer. Or even payroll, for a lot of companies, payroll accounts for a lot of their monthly expense. So really the message that I want to express here is the majority of your expenses are typically non-card accepting, and therefore you're missing out on the air miles. Another way to look at it is if you think about it in terms of your credit card limit, right? When you first apply for a credit card, the credit card company assesses your credit worthiness and says, okay, Candice, you can have a 30,000 ringgit credit card limit, but if I'm only spending 6,000 ringgit a month, I'm underutilizing that balance of 24,000. So I'm here today to make sure that you are truly maximizing the benefit that you've already been given by your credit card company. And I want to make something very clear right off the back. We are not a credit card company. CardUp is not a credit card company. We enable you to use your credit card in better ways than before. So let's pause for a second and talk about what are the benefits of paying with a credit card. Number 1, free up cash, right? So what does this mean? Paying with cash, you immediately have to immediately spend the money. And when I say cash, I can also include FPX, bank transfer, any immediate outflow of cash. The restriction here is you can only spend however much money you have in your bank account, right? If I have 10 ringgit in my account and I need to transfer 20, I obviously can't do it. Whereas when you pay by card, you can still pay your bill and settle it on time, but you get to hold on to your cash for longer. And I'll give you a tangible example of that in a little bit. The second bit is, okay, so even if you had the cash, what's the benefit of keeping it, right? First of all, you can earn interest, right? You can put it into a different investment vehicle and make your money work harder for you. Second of all, you have the flexibility and, to be honest, the security of having a cash reserve. Right? You know, at the end of the day, it comes down to what's the right amount of money for you to have in your rainy day fund, but you need to have some liquidity, and credit cards can help you do that. And then the final piece is you can invest in other growth opportunities, whether it's growing yourself and you want to invest in education, or investing in an investment vehicle, like I mentioned before, or your house or whatever. So the first thing we've talked about is the benefit is you keep more cash in your bank account. The second piece is it can actually help you save time. I fully appreciate that you're all very busy people, and we want to make sure that our lives are as efficient, but also secure as possible. So for here, what I especially like to focus on is advanced scheduling. I think a lot about my dad, right? He is an old school traditional guy. He wants his invoice in the mail every month. He wants to open the envelope and he wants to write a paper check. That's his preference. My preference is I want to know what my rent is, set it up in advance, and set it and forget it. So I know every month it's being paid on time. Much more hands-free for me. The second piece is it's helpful to have a digital trail, right? Going back to my dad, he has these little checks and he's got this little tab of paper where he's tracking how much he paid to who, when. I'm thinking, go onto your online bank and just ask for a statement. So for me, it's all about the digital trail. And the last piece is about consolidation, right? You're paying for restaurants and travel and all these range of expenses. A credit card can help you have that all consolidated in one. And a lot of credit cards give you the amazing feature to say, okay, show me all the expenses that I've spent on restaurants this month. So you can also monitor your spending, but with one single bill at the end of the month. So really, it's about efficiency and how you're managing your expenses. The last piece, and I think this is the meat of why you're all here today, is the rewards piece. And this is what I want to spend a little bit more time digging into. So the first question is, how do you pick the card that best suits your needs? And I think the really important thing here is to stress your needs. It's not a one-size-fits-all policy. So the first thing to think about is, what type of credit card rewards are you interested in getting at? Is it points that come from the credit card company themselves? Is it cashback because you want to see that cash in your account every month? Or is it miles? So let's dive into this a little bit. So let's say you want points. Points typically give you a lot more flexibility, right? You can redeem them for whatever method or whatever expense that you want. Some people like to use points for cinema tickets. Some people like to use points for travel. So points give you more flexibility. And the key here is, if you want to use them for air miles, you still can. On the other hand, cashback is much more tangible, right? You spent 100 ringgit, you get 1% cashback. It's a direct correlation, and that cash goes directly into your account. So here already you're starting to see you have to figure out what's your motivation. Now, Casey asked for a poll at the beginning, and it sounds like a lot of you are air miles oriented. You are people after my own heart. And so here it's really about how can you make your expenses give you the highest return? And often earning air miles is the best way to do that. So here I've just put two cards on the screen, and obviously in Malaysia, there's a huge range of options. We've got the CIMB MasterCard and we've got the Alliance Visa card. Now, one thing that I think about here too is it's not just what card do you want, but it's also what card can you get, right? Because banks are evaluating your credit worthiness when you submit an application. So I believe that the CIMB card, you have to earn an annual salary of 120,000, whereas the Alliance card, you have to earn 60,000. So already that's helping you distinguish which cards you are and are not eligible for. So, okay, so we figured out what kind of card you want, whether you want points, air miles, or cashback. Now you're going to say to me, okay, I already know the answer to that. How does CardUp come in, and how many air miles are you going to help me earn? So this is where we try to make it as easy for you, and we've made this calculator. So how it works, very simple. You just plug in what are your monthly expenses. So in this example, I've said, okay, I have 1,500 ringgit a month in education I have to pay back, and I have 6,000 a month in mortgage loan. But as you can see, there's a range of different payment categories that you can make. Then you tell us, what is your credit card, right? We've preloaded all the major credit cards into the system, so you don't have to do any kind of calculation. What will happen next is the calculator, and it's free to use, the calculator will spit out what are the numbers for you based on how much you're spending, based on the card that you're using. So I recognize there's a lot of numbers on the screen, so let's go through it one by one. So starting at the top, the first section is, what kind of spend are you putting on the card? So in this case, I'm saying I put 90,000 ringgit a year on the card. There's a CardUp fee associated with it. Let me come back to that. My total spend that's going on my credit card is just over 91,000 ringgit. Second box is telling me, okay, based on the card that I've inputted, how many air miles am I going to earn in return? Last box is then saying, okay, I want to fly business class to Japan. What is the value of that ticket if I paid for it? In this case, it's just over 10,000 ringgit. And what is the value of the ticket if I use air miles? In this case, 81,000. So then the final section at the very bottom is calculating, okay, what are your savings after all of this? Let me show it to you in a slightly different way that might make it super clear. So I've highlighted on the right the numbers that I'm thinking of, and then I've kind of reordered it on the left. So if you were to buy the flight outright, just over 10,000 ringgit. On the other hand, you are paying a CardUp fee, just over 1,000 ringgit. But the value of the air miles that you're getting and the cost savings that you're getting is over nearly 9,500 ringgit. That's what you're saving. Plus, you've got air miles left over to use on your next trip. So what I like to think about here is a little bit of a mind shift is required, right? Because what you're having to do is you're having to pay a CardUp fee upfront every month to pay for your rent, to pay for your mortgage, etc., for a benefit, i.e. the air miles that you're going to earn later in the year. The other shift that you might not already be aware of, say you and I were to go out to a restaurant, right? And I was to pay for our coffee with my credit card. If I owe the restaurant 100 ringgit, the restaurant's actually going to pay a processing fee on their side. So the restaurant's actually only going to get 97 ringgit of that. Whereas for us, we're switching the dynamic. And I like to use the example of rent here. Today, I'm paying my landlord via bank transfer. I send the landlord 1,000 ringgit, he gets 1,000 ringgit. If I then say to him, I want to pay you by credit card, he's going to say, sure, but I don't want to pay the fee. So now what happens is, for me, I'm the one who absorbs the fee. I pay 1,000 ringgit plus the CardUp fee. Hopefully that makes sense. And don't worry, we'll talk about special promotions just for the KC fans, because when KC first invited me to come on this call, he said, Candice, you can come on one condition. You have to give my followers a discount. So we stayed true to our word, and so we'll share that later on. So the final thing I want to share here is you can save not only money, but you can end up flying business class for the price of an economy ticket. Who doesn't love that? So hopefully now I've kind of convinced you of why you would want to shift your large expenses onto your credit card. It's all about maximizing the benefits of your credit card. At CardUp, we like to say, turn your life expenses into life experiences, right? You're already paying your rent or your mortgage every month. You're already paying your insurance. So don't miss out on the opportunity to earn rewards in the process. So at CardUp, we accept a range of payment categories. So we've talked about rent and mortgage and education already. Renovation, if you're getting a painter to come into your house, if you are getting a gardener to completely redesign your garden. Insurance, supplier invoices if you run a company, your car loan, even your down payment for a car and season parking. And this is just some of the payment categories that we accept. So please do go on our website and see if we have the payment category that you want to pay. And if you don't, talk to us, because I'm sure we can make it happen. So a lot of people also say to me, okay, how easy is it to sign up? You know, whenever I'm dealing with a financial platform, sometimes it can be complicated. I don't want to have to submit a bunch of paperwork. The CardUp team have tried to make it as simple as possible to sign up. So first of all, it's free. You can create an account and you don't have to pay any costs. In addition to that, there's no cost to maintain your account. There's no minimum, monthly transactions required. So in that sense, it's really free to get started and to maintain the account. The second piece is that we charge a really low processing fee. Why do we charge a fee? To be frank, that's just the cost of doing business, right? Let's say you pay with your Alliance Visa card. Alliance takes a cut to process the transaction. Visa takes a cut to process the transaction. So a lot of the fee that you're paying doesn't actually go to CardUp. It's going to all of those people in the funnel that is enabling your credit card transaction. On top of that, we really make it our mission to make sure that the fee is as low as possible. So you'll always see on our pricing page a range of promotions that we're running. The last thing, and this is the piece that I love the most, you can pay anybody. They don't even need to accept credit cards, and they don't even need to know that you're paying by your credit card, right? So I'll go back to the example of rent. When I first moved to Singapore, I set up a bank transfer to pay my landlord. Every month, on the first of the month, he received a bank transfer from Candice Gallagher. I then shifted over to CardUp, and I said, hey, CardUp, I'm going to pay you with my credit card. You pay my landlord via bank transfer. Landlord still got the money on time. Landlord still knows the money came from me. And the entire transaction, I'm earning credit card benefits in the meantime. So we really are not disrupting the payment flow. We're enabling you to earn the benefits in the process. So how does it work? And I'm going to touch on this quickly just to make sure you understand. You simply, once you've created your account, you set up your payment. So in the case of rent or mortgage, you uploaded a copy of your tenancy agreement or your mortgage loan. You enter the information of which bank or which person do you want us to pay, on what date. Do you want us to do it on a recurring basis, or do you want to make it a one-off transaction? And you enter your credit card details. And the second step, we make sure that your recipient gets paid on the schedule that you tell us. So you could set up a payment for a year from now, or you could set up a payment for tomorrow. Typically, we settle all the payments, we charge your card, and we make the transfer to the individual 3 days later, but you can also do next day if you want. And again, think of CardUp as like a middle entity. You pay us with your credit card, we pay your end recipient via bank transfer. And then the last bit, which is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but it's true. Sit back, relax, and earn the rewards. It's super satisfying for me every month, knowing that even though I've made a big transfer to my landlord for my rent, at least I'm earning air miles in the process, because that's what I chose to earn. Another question we get a lot is, this is the first time I'm hearing of CardUp. How legitimate are you? So I want to reassure you in that piece. We work with all the major banks and issuers. We're in partnership with them. They very much know that we're around and they work with us. We are talking to AmBank as an example. They said, we love what you're doing. Let's work together to create a promotion. Second of all, We currently operate in Singapore, Hong Kong, and Malaysia. And across the region, we've processed over $1 billion Singapore dollars. So that's people and businesses who have said, CardUp, we trust you so much. Here's over $1 billion worth of payments we'd want you to process. Final piece is a bit more technical, but we are fully compliant with all regulations, and we make sure that your money is protected along the way. You know, if you think about some of the news recently about fintech companies, we protect your money separate to our own money. So you can rest assured that if you're paying us your rent on your credit card, your money is protected and that will be sent to the landlord. We don't spend that money in any way. We have a separate fund for how we spend our money. And the last piece is, and we were really excited to see this with Ringgit Plus. Ringgit Plus recently talked about us. So feel free to just Google CardUp Ringgit Plus, and you'll see an article explaining how CardUp works in Malaysia. We've also worked, iMoney has also featured us. And then across the region, especially in Singapore, we've had a lot of pickup. One final shout out is that we've talked a lot today about using CardUp for your personal expenses, but it also works for businesses. So I've mentioned supplier invoices, payroll, right? If you're paying your employees every month, you have to have cash in the bank to make sure your employees get paid on time. The same exact model works for businesses as it does for individuals. And the difference here is, sure, we have a lot of business owners who also want to earn those air miles, right? But the other piece is it really can be an immediate access to credit, right? You're not having to apply for a loan. There's no large interest or repayment terms. If you have a credit card with X credit card limit, you can use that on our platform. If you pay your credit card on time, it's 0% interest. So no heavy documentation, no application required. So no additional application required. And it can really be an additional cost-effective method for you, as opposed to having to scramble for last-minute financing and get hit with, I've heard some businesses getting hit with 10, 15, 20% interest rates. With CardUp, you take that piece off the table. So hopefully now I've convinced you to turn your life expenses into life experiences. Hopefully I've explained to you why there is a processing fee and how it can benefit you. But I can sense through the internet, you're saying to me, I want to try it for free. And because KC is such a big negotiator, that's exactly what we've done. So here on this page, you'll see if you want to make your first personal payment, so those are your personal expenses, you can have 0 fees on your first payment up to 6,000 ringgit. And if you're making your first business payment, same 0% fees, but it's up to 15,000 ringgit. So really it's a risk-free, cost-free way of trying our platform. To be perfectly clear, after this, the sticker pricing that I like to talk about, the normal pricing is 2.25%. So if you make a 100 ringgit transaction, you'll pay 2.25 ringgit to process that. However, and this is not a trick, this is really true, we are always running promotions. And so really right now, any payment over this free amount, you'll only pay 1.4%. Or if you have an AmBank card, we have some special promotions right now for AmBank card holders. So scan the QR code, or you can go to our dedicated website page, cardup.my/KCLau. We'll also send you all of this information after the call. So if you can't write it down now, no problem. We'll make sure that you have it afterwards. And with that, Ian, I'm happy to hand back over to you. I also have seen some questions coming in, so I'm excited to tackle those. Ian, back to you.
Yes, once again, just want to thank Candice for a very, very interesting presentation. And I believe that all of us are actually very intrigued as to knowing how CardUp works, and we are still digesting the whole information.
Yeah.
But right now, it's actually time for us to actually get into the Q&A. So guys, if you're interested with CardUp, there's a special promo code. Either you can sign up with there's a link here, cardup.my/KCLau, or you can actually just scan the QR code. Make sure that you don't forget, I mean to say, do not forget about the promo codes. All right, if you are using credit cards on a personal basis, it's KCLau. If you are a business owner like KCLau himself, then of course, the promo code is KCLau Biz. All right, so it's time to, yep.
Yeah, Candice, just some question from me personally. So you say that 1.4%, what's that promo about? Is like whatever amount is 1.4% until you go back to the normal 2.25, is it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So like any kind of e-commerce site, when you go, you put something in your basket, you go to the checkout page, there's a box where you can put in a promo code.
Yeah.
So if you don't put in a promo code, the default fee is 2.25%. However, right now, we've got this promo code that allows you to pay 1.4% on all your transactions, no limit. So just remember to make sure you put in that code when you're checking out.
So that code is on your website that we can.
Yes. Yeah. If you go to cardup.my, there's a pricing section. There's a different page for making a payment or collecting a payment. I haven't really addressed that today, but just go to the pricing section and you'll see all that information. But the key, Casey, is make sure that the very first payment that you make is with the KCLau promo code.
Because it's free. Okay.
It's free.
Okay.
It's free. Yeah.
And more question is about the personal payments and business payments. Like, how do you differentiate it? Like, how do we know, like, this is a personal one, this is a business one?
Yeah. So in that case, you actually have a separate account that you have to create. And once you've created that account, there are different payment options within it. So when I log into my personal account, I see rent, mortgage, education. When I log into my business account, I see supplier invoices, payroll. That's the first part. What's the second part? I suddenly lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, I found it again. When you're first signing up, the sign up process is slightly different, right? When you're signing up for a personal account, we're asking for information about you. Who are you? Can we see your IC card? When you're signing up for a business, we're checking that you're registered as a business in Malaysia. So we have initial checks in the beginning. And don't worry, if you sign up in the wrong section, it should be really obvious to you. And if it's not, our team will reach out and say, hey, you should have please sign up for an account over here instead.
So like in my case, I should have a personal account and I also can have a business account.
Yes.
And when I do payment, can I use my personal card for both?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And we have a lot of business owners who are doing that. They're saying, I got a lot of company expenses. I'm going to earn the air miles in this process. So yes, very much so.
Awesome. Thanks for the answer.
Yeah.
Right.
So I see, Ian, if I can just jump ahead, because I saw a comment that I think is really important to address. Earlier, I flashed the card of this, I flashed the CIMB card, and AH had addressed it. Callista had also responded. You're right. Right now on CardUp, the best card to use is the CIMB TWE card. CIMB is changing their policy. Right now, you can earn 10 times rewards, and it looks like come August, they're going to be changing that to 2 times rewards. So if anything, if you're interested in trying CardUp and you have a CIMB card, now is exactly the time to try it because of the 10-time rewards. In August, once it drops down to 2, it's still worthwhile. But obviously, I think just on pure numbers basis, 10 sounds a lot better than 2.
Right. And yeah, let's get into the questions.
Yeah, great.
And Candice, I really love your tagline, It's time for us to actually start thinking about turning our life expenses into life experiences. I mean,
yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean to say it's a catchy tagline. So
oh, good.
So it's time for us to actually really think about doing that. And to do that,
because you're paying the expense anyway, right? You're paying the expense, so why not earn rewards in the process? And if you indulge me for a second, this year, because I've been paying my rent with CardUp for over a year now, I am so excited. I'm English. I am so excited to go back to England this Christmas in business class. I
Wow.
cannot tell you how excited I am from paying my rent and turning that into a business class flight.
Wow.
So I speak from personal experience. It really works. This is not some sort of gimmick, like it works.
Okay, so yeah, I mean to say, if it's without CardUp, so you just use bank transfer to actually pay your rent to your landlord in Singapore, and that's about it.
Yeah,
But since you're paying, but I believe since you're paying thousands and in fact tens of thousands of Singapore dollars in the rent money to your landlord, that money is paid via CardUp, and you have actually earned quite a decent amount of air miles on it. So that's how you get your business class tickets, maybe half price.
Yeah, you're so right. And I even have a friend who's done even better than I am, where he spent a couple of years paying for his expenses on CardUp. And as a honeymoon gift to his new wife, they flew first class Singapore Air to and from London. Ooh. So he blasted on social media that photo of them cheersing with a glass of champagne sitting in first class. And I was like, this guy is onto something.
Okay, a question about the promo. So some of our attendees today, they said they already have an account with CardUp. So can they still use this KCLau promo code for the payment? Yeah. So if you already have an account, that is not the deciding factor. It's whether you've already made a payment for the first time or not. Oh, so if you've already made a payment, this is only for your first payment. So for you, I would recommend getting the 1.4% promo code that's on our pricing page. Okay.
Okay. So at this point in time, we have collected more than 30 questions, or in fact 40, if we consider the questions that have been accumulated at the chat box. But at the Q&A box, it's coming close to 40 questions. So there are lots of questions. So what you need to do, guys, is this. I mean, go through the Q&A box. I mean to say, there might be some questions which are repeated. Maybe you have asked a question that is actually similar in nature as compared to questions asked by other fellow viewers. So what you need to do is that if you see a question that you think is relevant, just click onto the thumbs up button. So I can actually address the ones that are, the popular ones, so that at least to say we can get the popular ones sorted out first. All right. So with that, let's start.
And you might see some, I think Alex and Callista have already answered some of the questions. So also look at the answer tab, and we'll try and get through them all. And if we don't, either just shoot us an email. We've got our email on our website, and we'll try and send a recap of some of the questions after the call.
Fantastic. And with that, let's start with the first one. Gary Tong. So Gary Tong would like to know, how do you arrive at 1.4% CardUp fee as your non-promo rate? As your non-promo rate is 2.25%. Is 1.4% this rate? How long is this applicable? So this is from Gary Tong.
Right, Gary, I can tell you are a very savvy financial guy, because you are straight in there with the, I want the promo code forever. I totally recognize that. So, let me be frank, right? We've been in Malaysia a couple of years, and we've been running our business product, right? The CardUp for Business. We recently launched CardUp for personal users, and let me tell you, we've seen incredible take up straight off the bat. And so what we're trying to do is balance the cost of processing transactions with also trying to make sure that new people like you can find us and learn how to use us and hopefully fall in love with us. So we're always looking at our pricing structure. Right now, we've settled on 1.4, which is really a factor of what does it cost to process the transaction? But we also recognize that that's not what your concern is, and we want to make sure that you can try it for free, especially the first time. So that's why, for Casey's friends, we've sort of said 0% the very first time, and then after that, we've said 1.4. In a nutshell, pricing changes, but we really commit to making sure that our pricing, our promotional pricing, at a minimum is live for 3 months, if not 6, and we typically extend it. So I think you can be confident, Gary, that you'll be able to see pricing or very similar pricing for the medium term.
All right. With that, let's move on to the next question. CH Lee. Okay, so this question received 3 thumbs up. So it's a popular one. So the question is as follows. Can we use CardUp to pay EPF contribution, SOCSO, taxes, or any government-related billings? CH Lee.
Thank you so much. And actually, in this point, I'm going to turn over to Alex, because Alex is part of our sales team, and he has so much more experience than me about the different payment categories in Malaysia. So Alex, is this one you can answer?
Yep, sure. So basically, we can support LHDN tax payments. Okay, it's actually done via a virtual account. We have a very detailed FAQ on our website, where if you refer to that, you're actually able to get the details to actually submit such a payment. Like, they actually have the steps by steps to do so. So if you refer to our FAQ, you'll be actually able to set up a payment quite instantly.
Great. And Alex, if anybody has any questions about their specific payment type, what's the best way for them to contact the CardUp team?
Oh, so basically, if there is you have actually issues or actually questions, you can actually reach us out on our email. Okay, hellomai@cardup.co. Right, this is where we can actually consolidate and track all your requests so that we can give you a very detailed and answer all your questions.
Great, thank you.
So the email is hellomai.
Yeah, hello my at cardup.
.co.
Yeah.
At
.co.
cardup.co. So I just put this email.
Thank you, Ian. Thanks a lot.
All right. Right. Thank you so much, Alex. Next question, Gary Tong again. This question receives 4 thumbs up. So another popular question. So Gary is asking, CardUp as payment aggregator, processing credit card payments, does it not require the license from the Central Bank of Malaysia, which is BNM? PCI-DSS compliant is payment security. Wow, this is very technical. What is PCI-DSS? Maybe you need to educate us a little bit about that. How could we be assured that the payment is secure, just in case CardUp does not honor the payment? Wow.
Yeah, I hear you. Thanks, Ian. Thanks for passing that one over to me. Yeah, no, and Gary, I totally hear you, right? If this is your money, these are your expenses, and it's going on your credit card. So I totally appreciate the question about security. So let me start with Singapore. In Singapore, we're heavily licensed and heavily regulated. We follow all the standards that the Singapore government has set for a financial institution, and we get audited every year. We apply those same security standards in all our markets, even if it's not a requirement in that market. So we have a very regional approach to security and managing your payments. To be straightforward, we have engaged with BNM about licensing requirements in Malaysia, and they have evaluated that it is not required for us. So as of today, we don't have a BNM license, and we have been told by them we don't need it. But it's something that we are regularly contacting them about, because on our side, we want to be proactive, right? We don't want to wait for the regulatory authorities to come back to us and say, hey, you need to apply for the license. We're regularly reaching out to them and saying, hey, just checking in, any changes that we need to adhere to? Nope, okay, see you again in a few months. So if you go on our website, we also have a security page. If you go in the top navigation, there's an about banner, and you can see more information, not only about how we protect your money when it's in transit and how we safeguard your money, but also our regulation requirements. Hopefully that answers your question, Gary.
Okay.
I mean, just to add on as well, if we look at it, CardUp, the concept of CardUp in Malaysia is actually quite new. And I think this is the first time that most people are hearing about it. Just like if we had to equate to buy now, pay later, buy now, pay later concept has been in Malaysia for I think close to 4 years, 5 years, right?
Mhm.
And only recently that Bank Negara requires them to actually have a license and actually has gotten up the framework ready, for them, to meet to the certain requirements by Bank Negara Malaysia. So as the popularity of CardUp or payment aggregator like us, goes up, right? I believe and I strongly believe that Bank Negara Malaysia will require us to have a license soon. But rest assured, we are actually ready at all times to actually apply for the license and go through all the requirements that Bank Negara Malaysia needs.
Okay, cool. Yes, thanks for the add-on. So with that, let's move on to the next question. Let's see. Okay, so 5 thumbs up question. CT Chan, can we use CardUp to pay our monthly credit card? So use CardUp to pay monthly credit card. All right, Candice, what?
So CT, the answer is no, right? So CardUp enables you to put non-traditional payment expenses onto your credit card, but you still have to settle your credit card bill as you normally would with the bank that you have it with. So no, you couldn't say to us, last month I had 1,000 ringgit on my credit card. Can I put this on another credit card? In a quick answer is no, you can't do that.
All right. Okay, so with that, let's move on to the next question. This is from Gerard. So Gerard would like to know, since we are uploading some supporting documents that may consist our personal information, how does CardUp keep and protect this information? Will CardUp purge the document after some time? So that's from Gerard.
Thanks, Gerard. That's a very fair question. So we, as part of a minute ago when we talked about protecting your money, we also protect your data. So if you want to get into the specifics of it, we have a full privacy policy on our website, and you can see how we store all your information. We retain your information for the purposes of maintaining your account. And that's also tied to regulations, especially that we follow in Singapore and we apply to Malaysia. But at any point, if you contact us, we will adhere to your request to remove your data from our system.
Okay. All right. So that's question answered. Yeah. So actually, I'm looking at the what do you call the CardUp at the FAQ section. So yeah, I mean to say just now what you have presented is actually really good concept and all this. But then how do I actually do the cost benefit analysis? Like so if I actually structure this to my own mortgage, then how does it work, right? So how much am I getting out of this effort of actually setting up the CardUp structure just to get the amounts versus the costs that I will be the additional costs that I will be incurring to do that. So how do I compute that?
Right. So that really is where the calculator comes in. For me, I turn to the calculator all the time to decide whether I want to put my insurance on CardUp. Let the calculator do the hard work for you. And you're right. If it's going to cost you more than the value of the air miles that you get in return, that's not necessarily the right approach for you. So in that case, either you change the card that you're using to get a higher earning card, or, and we have a lot of people who do this, where they say, yes, I'm going to be paying more than the rewards that I get in return, but I'm taking advantage of the other benefit of deferring the payment until the payment is due. So let me give you an example. Let's say Casey is my landlord and he says to me, Candice, tomorrow you owe me 5,000 ringgit in rent, right? If I don't have the money in my bank, I somehow have to scramble to find the money to make sure I do the bank transfer to Casey tomorrow. Instead, what I could do is put on CardUp, please pay Casey by tomorrow. Casey gets the money on time, he's a happy landlord. But let's say today is July 11th, right? So Casey's happy and I've paid my bill. My credit card company doesn't issue my credit card statement until August 1st. And then my credit card company says, Candice, you don't have to pay it until September 1st. So between now and September 1st, I've bought myself that 5 to 6 week window where I can actually get the money, be it my salary or borrow the money from someone else or get the interest. So that extra time that you're buying yourself, perfectly legal, right? That's the terms and the contracts of your credit card. That's the piece that a lot of people will say it's worth it. Yeah, I'm not earning as many air miles as I would have liked, but it's helping me bridge that cash flow gap that I have.
All right, so I'll turn to KC because I mean to say mortgage payments, rental payments, receiving rentals, being a landlord, being a property owner, and being as well as a tenant. It's a big part in our life, and I'm sure that it is for most of the KCLau's audience. So KC, your thoughts on this?
Oh yeah, mainly if you want to do this, if from my own opinion is that I will look at the benefit of the cards, right? If I can get more than that, I will definitely do it. So like Candice said, you find the cards that can give you the more benefit than you are paying, which is 1.4%. But for the first 6,000 and first 15,000, you will earn everything, right? Because it's no fee.
You've got nothing to lose.
So at least you can do it once, right? And then after that is 1.4%. So if you can get cash back more than 1.4%, or you can get your miles in value that is much more than that, usually it is, then it is worth doing. Yeah, definitely.
Thanks. And if I can for a second, I just want to sort of, we haven't talked about it today, but there's this other side of our platform that I want to make sure everyone's aware of, specifically for businesses. So we've talked about, I need to make a payment to KC, right? We've kind of addressed that, whether I'm making a personal payment or a business payment. On the other side, we have a lot of businesses who want to offer credit card acceptance to their customers. So that we call CardUp Collect. And in this case, the business creates an account and the business gets its own dedicated payment URL. So a good example is we've got a lot of schools who use us, right? Especially the international schools. They've got thousands of parents paying tens of thousands of ringgit every month in fees. And the parents have said to the school, I want to pay by credit card. So option one, those parents could have come on and said, okay, I'm going to make a CardUp account and I'm going to pay the school. What's happened instead is the schools come along and said, my parents want this, my customers want this, let me create a link. So it's literally a web URL that the business sends their customers, and then the customers can check out with their credit card as they would as if they were on an e-commerce site. And what's really cool about our Collect feature is you can either have an open payment request where it's literally like, put in your name, put in the amount that you're sending, everything is like open, or we can make a custom one. So imagine I was a business, I could send Casey a very specific URL that says, Casey, you owe me 1,492 ringgit, and this is the day you have to pay it by. All Casey has to do is enter his card information and click checkout. The benefit to me is then, imagine if I have a lot of customers, or in the case of a school, I have a lot of parents. I know exactly who has paid how much, which helps me with reconciliation. Because that's another piece when you're getting FPX transfers and bank transfers, you're having to manually go into your bank account and be like, okay, who was this? Wait, they used the wrong invoice number, or they didn't pay the right amount. Whereas with our Collect feature, the business can stay more in control of the payments that they're receiving. And then their customer, is still getting all the same benefits of using their credit card.
Candice, further to this feature, as a CardUp user to collect payment, and who absorb the fee in this case? Like who is going to pay the fees, right? Is the payer who pay the fees or the collectors who are paying the fees?
You can choose, which is what's really interesting. So sometimes the collector, we have collectors who keep facing late payments. They are constantly chasing their customers, and the customers, oh, I don't have the money in the bank account, or I haven't transferred it yet, or whatever. So in that case, the collector says, okay, fine, I'll let you pay by credit card and I'll absorb the fee to give you the benefit of paying by your credit card. Will that make you pay me on time? So sometimes it's the collector. Sometimes the collector flips it. So in the case of schools, the schools have said, if a parent wants to pay, the parent pays the fee. So that's what's really cool about our collect product. We can toggle the fee depending on whoever the collector wants to pay the fee.
Okay. For the question, are you going to take American Express soon?
I tell you, we're talking to them. We are definitely
Okay.
talking to them about it.
Awesome, awesome.
And I if you can allow me for a second to share, I love to talk about how CardUp was originally founded, because our founder and CEO, Nikki Ramsey, used to work at American Express. She spent over a decade working there. And because of her experience there, she not only really learned about the credit card space, but she saw this massive opportunity. So in Singapore, we were the first payment enabler of our kind that Amex gave us permission to operate with. Because she had that history with American Express, she had that trust and that experience. They said, Nikki, we support what you're doing. You can have our permission in Singapore. And so we're trying to now get that same permission in Malaysia.
Awesome, awesome. Hopefully we can have the good news soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Further question, in Malaysia, we have a lot of Muslims, so they are
Mm.
concerned about whether doing this is Sharia compliance. I don't know whether you have the answer for this.
I'll ask Alex to also comment here. So on a immediate, like I cannot say with absolute confidence, no, but what I will also do a bit of a plug for is CardUp, we're a payments platform. We were technically acquired by funding societies, which is a lending platform. Funding societies is also regional. They're in Malaysia, they're in Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, all these kind of places. I know there that they offer Islamic-friendly financing. So different product, it's a loan, but I can confirm that Funding Societies offers it.
Oh,
So Alex, you want to chirp in for?
Is there anything else?
Like,
you
whether
wanna
is
add?
it Sharia compliant to do this?
So currently, I don't think there is any kind of restrictions on whether this is Sharia or non-Sharia in a way, right? So in Malaysia, I mean, even the banks, they are offering credit cards. It really depends down if it will actually depends on the card issue. Is it Sharia compliant or not, right? Because it's very subjective in terms of so-called the riba or interest. You know, that is very different between conventional banking and actually Islamic banking. So I say we are a platform, we are a channel. It's actually depending on the cards you're using, whether it's from the conventional bank or actually it's from the Islamic bank to actually make it Sharia compliant.
Thanks, Alex.
Okay. So with that, let's move on to the next question. This is actually a question of interest. After all, that KC's audience are also investors. So this is actually a question by AHPI. So AHPI would like to know, can I use CardUp to deposit any money into any investment platform, like stock brokerage accounts such as TD Ameritrade, Interactive Brokers, or any local stock brokerage houses, or even crypto platforms like Coinbase, Luno, and so on and so forth?
I wish I could say yes, but I have to say no. We really are only enabling you to pay very sort of traditional everyday life expenses, rent, mortgage, car loan. Those type of transactions we cannot process.
Okay.
I wish I could give you a different answer.
If let's say you have a different answer to that, then I suppose me and KC will be super happy.
Yeah, right. Okay. I'll write it down. I'll write it down and go straight to the boss and be like, listen, the people of KCLau have spoken.
That would be so interesting, considering wow, you get air miles for your investments. My goodness.
Yeah.
So
but thanks for that question. And I will also say, like, we create a product to serve your needs. And, you know, at CardUp, we spend a lot of time calling customers. Alex is constantly on the phone speaking to customers to make sure, you know, A, facilitating the transaction, but B, also getting feedback, right? Because you are the users and it's best that we listen to you. So if there's ever a question in terms of you want to ask whether something can be done or you have feedback, please do let us know. Because the more we know about your needs, the better we can tailor our product.
Okay. So next question is by Martin Chow. So Martin Chow would like to know, when would the vendor receive the money after I pay? Is it immediately? So once you set it up, does that mean that the landlord receives the money on the spot?
Yeah. Alex, maybe you can answer this in terms of payment speed.
Okay, so basically you're talking about the payout, right? So all transactions in Malaysia, they actually get paid out in T+3 working days. So basically, if let's say you set up payment on Monday, by Thursday, end of the day, you should be receiving your funds. But if somehow there's a public holiday in between, right? So the payment could be delayed one day later, which is on Friday.
Right. And if somebody wants to do a faster payout speed, Alex, maybe you can speak to that.
Currently, we don't have any kind of faster payout speed here in Malaysia. In Singapore, we have it, which is actually in 1 working days.
Got it. Okay. And when Alex talks about, you know, T+3, also to be very clear, he's talking about business days. And so weekends and public holiday are also impacted by that. So a good example is, and we try to make it as easy for you as possible. So when you're setting up your payment, we ask you, when do you want the recipient to receive the money? And then we'll back calculate for you when we'll charge your credit card. So you don't have to do the calculation. You have to worry about the weekends or whatever. We'll do that for you. And the second piece is we keep you updated every step of the way. So when you first set up your payment, we'll send you an email. You can see it in your dashboard. When we charge your credit card, we'll send you an email. And once it's been successfully processed, we'll send you an email. If you give us the email address of the person you're paying, we'll also notify them, but that's your discretion, whether you want us to send the notification or you want to handle it yourself. In theory, you won't need to notify them because the person will see the money in the bank account. One other thing that I think is worth sharing is that when you go into the platform and you set up a payment, you have the option of either entering the payment details of the person you're paying, right? Like, Casey, I need your bank account so I can put that money in. But we've also preloaded the bank account details of a lot of very widely used businesses in Malaysia. So we also try to make that as easy as possible for you. And those details have already been verified.
All right. Okay, nice. So with that, let's move on to the next question. Let's see. Okay, I believe here's one. All right. So Clement would like to know, for car loan payments or hire purchase payments. So the gist of it is we pay to CardUp with 1.4% fee, and CardUp will pay to the bank the exact amount when it comes to the monthly payment amount. Is that correct? So that's
perfect. Yeah, perfect understanding, Clement. That's exactly the way it is. So the way I like to think about it is, normally you pay the person. What's happening is you're kind of letting CardUp come in the middle. You pay us with your credit card. We pay the end person with bank transfer.
Okay. So let's see. What else can we? Okay,
how about
so
e-wallet top up, right? How about e-wallet top up?
Mm.
Can they use CardUp to do that?
No, not today.
Sorry.
Not today.
No. And I see another question from Clement, and actually I need some help here. What does SSPN stand for?
Oh,
Could CardUp pay to SSPN?
Yep, it's the Scheme Simpanan Nasional.
Ah, got it.
It's the
educational loan
Malaysia's educational saving account. Yeah.
Got it. Alex, can you answer that question?
So whether you can pay into SSPNI, no. But we are actually, this also answers another question. We are actually in the works to actually push out JomPay payment method as well. So basically, through CardUp, we swipe your card and we collect the funds and all. Then we can actually do a JomPay to the respective biller code that you choose. So we are working out something like that. It's still work in progress. We have been pushing. We are still have no clear indication when we are launching it, but we should be getting it out in the next 1 or 2 months.
Mm. All right. So Casey, any interesting questions that you find in the Q&A
I
box?
see.
Yeah, Daryl. I saw one from Daryl. Is it I have a full flexi mortgage loan account. The bank usually debits that account for the monthly mortgage repayment. So how do I use CardUp for this case? Do I still pay to that account?
Yeah, maybe Alex, you can address that. Mortgage payments.
Yeah. So mortgage payment, each mortgage loan actually has what is that called, bank account number. So all you have to do is delete or cancel your current auto debit function from your current account, right? And then just put the payment of CardUp directly to this mortgage loan account, and then that's it.
Mm.
And we've got some helpful FAQ pages and explainer pages on how all of that works.
Nice.
If I can, I see a question from CT that I want to address. This is good for
Okay.
regularly scheduled payments. How do we do ad hoc payments when the need arises? Example, restaurant spending. So when you're setting up a payment on CardUp, you tell us the frequency. You can either do a one-off payment. So let's say rent. You could say every month I want to log into CardUp and schedule my rent. Or you can say, I want to pay my rent every other month, every 3 months, once a year. Like you can define that frequency. One thing I just want to clarify is that everyday expenses like restaurants, or you're going to a shop and you're buying clothes or going to the supermarket, those transactions don't go through CardUp because, and the best way to remember this is, if you can already pay by credit card, then you don't need to do it through CardUp. CardUp is about enabling you to do transactions that don't currently allow you to pay by credit card.
Yes. So I believe, I mean to say that's what I thought so. So it's not about all your credit card.
Unless the restaurants doesn't take credit card and then they say, okay, you can pay me 3 days later. Then probably you can do that, maybe.
I don't know. I will have to see about that one. I don't think I'd be very surprised if you could convince a restaurant to feed you today and you pay them tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Irene, I see Irene said it would be helpful if we can see a demo. Totally. I think what we'll do, Irene, is after the call, we've got this really useful FAQ with not only video demo, but also explain step by step, how do you create your account? And then also how do you set up a payment? So hopefully that will address your request for a demo.
I mean, guys, when it comes to this CardUp thing, right? I mean, what I gather is that it's not actually about the small nitty-gritty amounts that you spend on your credit card. It is actually the non-traditional stuff, like your mortgage payments. I mean, these are the bigger items, all right, that you will be spending on. But usually you will actually just do it via gyro, which is just bank. You just transfer it through bank, and there's no credit card rewards for it. So now there's CardUp. So what happens is that CardUp will pay to your bank, and you pay to CardUp, and you pay to CardUp using your credit card, so that you can actually get all the air miles and all the credit card benefits. All right. So that is actually how that I believe is actually how you utilize CardUp to actually maximize your rewards. All right. So it's actually on the bigger stuff. Now, don't talk about the 50 ringgit ringgit that you pay for fine dining in a shopping mall. So now here we are talking about thousands of dollars every single month. The ones that you have to pay one. So it's like your car loan, your housing loan, your rental, your school fees, insurance, Yeah.
Even your allowance to your mother, you know.
That might still have to be offline. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Ian, KC, watch out. I'm going to recruit Ian to come join CardUp because he's explained it. He's explained it so well. And exactly right. And the thing I also like to add is we're effectively like pay-as-you-go pricing, right? There's no minimum monthly fees. There's no fee to set up. There's no fee to maintain the account. If you spend 6 months not making a transaction, it doesn't cost you anything. If you want to make 5 transactions tomorrow, you just pay a fee for those 5 transactions.
Yeah. So, yep. That is actually that's how you use this all this benefit. All right. So
Yeah.
forget about all the. So I see a question on hawker stalls. You're paying 10 ringgit for a nasi lemak. So that doesn't actually really. It's not very significant. You can do that, but then it's not very significant when it comes to fits.
Yep, it's not, that's not what we're made for, right? Like, and I want to be very transparent, right? I'm not just trying to like make every ringgit I can out of you. I want to say like, use us if it makes sense for your needs and use us for the expenses where cards can't currently be accepted. We're not a one size fits everybody policy. It has to be the right for you, and not all of your expenses. And also, I want to do a shout out to Tess Tan. Thank you so much. Yes, you can use CardUp in Singapore. That's exactly how I'm paying for my rent and my taxes. Right now, it's sort of middle of tax season here in Singapore, which is always a bit of a painful time of the year. But then when I can earn my air miles, I think, okay, Mr. Taxman, no problem. I'll pay you my taxes this time, but I'm going through CardUp. So yes, Tess, go to our website and you can simply just, in Malaysia, it's cardup.my. In Singapore, it's cardup.sg. And we've got a bunch of promotions there too.
Yeah. Oh, another question is that, but this one I don't think is for the benefit. I mean to say, let's say, for example, as a tenant, okay, fair enough. I can see the benefit. So I just pay my rent through CardUp and that's it. Are there any benefits if you're on the other side, which is landlords? So should landlords actually recommend their tenants to use CardUp? And are there any perks for landlords?
Yeah. So what we see is that a lot of times there's people, in this case, tenants, are more likely to pay on time because they can take advantage of their credit card benefits and all this kind of stuff. So we see that the perk for the person receiving the money often is more on-time payments. Is the person receiving the money getting any credit card benefits? No, because they're receiving their money in their bank account like normal. So whoever is paying with their credit card is the one who gets the benefit. And along those same lines, I saw a question from someone about collect and what happens if you are a collector, let's say a landlord, collecting fees from your tenant. If your tenant doesn't pay their credit card bill on time, that's not your problem, right? The credit card company, like let's say I go back to the example I used earlier. If I pay KC via my credit card is going to pay KC no matter what, as long as I'm in good credit standing. If I then don't pay my credit card bill on time, the credit card company will charge me the interest. KC still received his payment. So that in a way gives you a bit of protection too, because the liability is passed to the credit card company, not you, the collector. So I appreciate on the collect side, we haven't had as much opportunity to dive into the details. And this is where I'm going to do a plug for Alex. He knows collect inside and out. So if you're a business who's interested in looking to offer credit card collections to your customers, please do reach out to Alex because I'm sure he'll be able to help you.
Thank you, Candice.
After this, Alex is going to be like, Candice, my email tripled.
Okay, so what I see is that, okay, so as a landlord, so now let's say, okay, so for example, for me, I'm a landlord. So my tenant has been paying my rent through online transfer, so bank transfer, right?
Yeah.
So there's a specific date that he should be paid, but he should pay my rent, but occasionally maybe he yeah, he kind of like slip up, and then he pay me maybe 2 or 3 days later.
Mhm.
Then the later as then just a few days late as compared to what is actually stipulated in the agreement. So now with CardUp, I just tell my tenant, look, you sign up for a CardUp this sort of a facility. So you set it up. What happened is that at the specific date, CardUp will charge his credit card and pay me my rent. So for the landlord, it's kind of like I'm guaranteed that, hey, I will be receiving payment at a specific time, and I don't need to really bother about chasing. Is it, hey, Mr. Tenant, or maybe Candice, you're tenant. Hey, Candice, when are you gonna pay me my rent and all this kind of stuff, right? So I don't need to WhatsApp say, hey, please, how I say, please do not forget to pay my rent.
Yeah, right. Nobody wants that. Right. Whether you're a landlord or you're a business, or even you know, your friend owes you for dinner last night. That's not a nice feeling to have to chase for money, no matter the circumstance. And I think that's really also, if you are the business or you're the landlord, you should decide which system works better for you, because there is a difference, right? If you tell your tenant, hey, you can use CardUp to set up your payments, you'll receive the payment, but you don't necessarily have visibility on, did they set it up every month? When's it canceled, etc. On the flip side, if you are a business, you have to be a registered business, and you set up to collect payments, there's a lot of automation tools that we offer you. So for example, you can make sure that you can send your tenant a recurring payment request. So they can say, yep, I give permission for for CardUp to charge my credit card every month and pay Ian every month. You can see that the customer has agreed to those terms, and you can see when the customer has canceled that, if the customer cancels that or your tenant cancels that. So that gives you more visibility into what your tenant is doing or your customer is doing. And along the way, we have the ability to send automated payment reminders, right? So you can make sure that we will send your tenant or your customer an email every month that says, hey, don't forget, in 2 days, in 1 day, or after the fact, hey, it's been 15 days and you still haven't paid this bill. So it really depends on which system you want to set up and what works best for you.
Sounds interesting. Looks like maybe KC will set up a system and then he will pay me.
Well, for salary. That's exactly right. It works for salary too, right? Next time KC's sitting on his private jet flying around the world, it's because he did his payroll through CardUp.
The
Maybe he'll take us with us.
CardUp part might be true, but the private jet part will be far from it.
Okay. We all need goals to work towards. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I'm actually quite inspired. I mean to say, I find this very, very. I can see how I now can actually see how this thing is workable. I think it's actually going to be quite helpful to many people.
Great. That's great.
Especially simply because I believe that even myself, I mean, same goes with KC and as well as the rest of the audience. I can see that a lot of our fixed expenses are actually tied up to just cash transactions or banking transactions, but not through CardUp. So yeah, I can see, okay, how this thing can really work.
That's great. So, and I tell you what's funny, sometimes when I meet a friend, they're like, what's your job again? And I'll explain it and they'll be like, whoa, why have I never heard of this? This is such a good idea. Like, why aren't more people doing it? I'm like, I know. Now I'm just trying to spread the word.
Yeah, we have more questions, so maybe you can go through it first. The first one is from Jarvis. Jarvis is asking about the cashback card. So I think in Malaysia, there are cashback, like they give some specific category with more cashback. Let's say you pump petrol, and then if you pump petrol, the cashback will be more than the other categories. So so the question is that, what if the payment does not falls under any of these categories? So I think Alex, maybe you can help with that.
Yeah. So basically for cashback cards usually have quite a cap in Malaysia, right? So at most you get like 50 ringgit off a month, upon I mean, just quoting Maybank Gold cards, right? So 1,000 ringgit on your Amex, you get 5% cashback, capped at 50 ringgit a month, and so on. So it becomes quite a pain. So as we can see that most of the time, I would say Air Miles is the way to go. But actually, if you actually have a CIMB Travel World Elite card, right, prior to the devaluation, you can actually get a 2.5% cashback, just on this card itself, right? So I won't say that all cards are the best or greatest to be spending on CardUp. End of the day, we are still advocating more on Air Miles card itself. That is where you can actually bring you the biggest benefit, right? Why do we want to look into something that may not give you the best benefit? They ask you some cards, they are great as well, but because it's quite exhaustive, in terms of what is available out there in the market. So at best, I think it'd be much easier. I mean, just a personal opinion, it'd be much easier. I mean, if you consolidate cashback to certain limited cards, so that it makes things easy for you to track, or you can actually use an Excel sheet.
And also, I just add one more thing. When you're setting up a payment, you have to click, am I doing my rent, or am I doing my mortgage, or am I doing my insurance? And the reason why we're asking that question is to make sure that we're charging it to the right category that the credit card company recognizes. So that's part of that process too.
I see. Okay, sounds awesome. Let's see what other.
So I will have further question on this. So like some cards, they will say, okay, if it is retail, I will give you like 5 times point. But if it is like insurance, I'll just give you 1 time points, right? So in this case, like when we do it through CardUp, are we like getting the 5 times point, or we are getting like insurance is 1 time point?
Alex, you want to address that?
Yep. So basically, well, when we talk about insurance or how you get categorized as 1 times point or 5 times point, it actually solely depends on the MCC. So banks, they do exclude or categorize certain type of transactions, under this specific MCC code, that they will only award 1 times point or 5 times point. So with CardUp itself, we are actually quite classified more as an online. So certain cards, or most of the cards, you will actually be able to get the required points, that as opposed to if you're going it through a traditional card terminal, so that shows that most likely and most of the time that you'll be actually getting full points on it. So we are not categorized as whether under insurance, will be categorized as a retail spend, online retail spend. So that is, if your card permits, let's say, online retail spend to get 8 times or 5 times points, then you'll be getting 8 times to 5 times points.
So it's as if we are doing an online transaction, online retail transaction.
Yes, correct.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so all right, guys, do you see any other questions that we may need to address?
I saw one about what is the validity for the KCLau promo code. Right now it's until the end of September of this year. So you got a couple of months. Yeah, a couple of months to use that.
Okay, sounds good. So that means to say, if you sign up with KC, then the 1.4% is actually for life, is it?
It's the 0% KCLau promo for your very first transaction. Then after that, the default pricing is 2.25%, but there are promo codes available, and they change relatively regularly. I'd say every 3-ish months. Either they've expired and we need to replace them, or we're announcing new bank partnerships too. So even if even if you don't feel like today is the right time to sign up, totally respect that. We're always talking. We have a team who's just constantly talking to the banks. Bank is one I've mentioned, and we're talking to the other banks about partnerships. So if you get on our email list, you'll be updated every time we launch a new promo code.
Okay. I mean to say, for now, I think we have actually received a lot of questions, close to 100 questions on
Fantastic.
On this.
Thanks so much to all of you for being so engaged. I
think most likely, Casey and myself, both of us are more than happy to actually get you guys back sometime in the future, in the near future. Actually, maybe we can come up with other angles on how we can actually use CardUp to actually benefit our lives. After all,
Great.
there's so much of our life expenses that can be turned
Yeah.
into life experiences. So,
Yeah.
so you guys
Yeah,
might
that's
be,
great.
yeah, I think it'll make sense to actually get you guys back onto the platform to actually talk more about.
Thanks so much. Thanks for including us. And today we focus largely on making a payment, mainly for personal expenses. But if your audience has appetite, we'd be delighted to come back and talk about it more from a business perspective and kind of dive deeper into whether you are the business owner or you're running the finances for your business. We're happy to have a deeper conversation either with KC, or you can reach out to us directly.
Fantastic. All right. So Candice, before we let you off, perhaps you can actually show the slides where
Yeah,
the QR,
sure. Let me pull
code
that
and
up
stuff
again.
like that, the promo stuff, so that
Yeah,
last chance
that's
for
what
people.
really matters, right? That's where the money is. Okay, let me do this. Share my screen. There we go. So yeah, so we've made a dedicated website page, cardup.my/KCLau, where all of this information is. Or you can scan the QR code, or if you write down anything, just write down these 2 promo codes listed here. So if you're going to make a personal payment, do KCLau. If you're going to make a business payment, KCLau Biz. And top tip, you can use both. If you need both a personal and a business account, we're allowing you to double dip. So yeah, you can use both.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So I personally have actually my eyes are open. So and I kind of like I'm actually quite delighted to know about this. And before we go for our lunch, Candice, perhaps you can actually give us one last word of imparting of wisdom that you may want to impart to our audience before we let you off for lunch.
Thank you so much. I mean, honestly, I'm really my honor to be with you here today. And I know Ian likes the phrase, so I just want to reinforce it again. Turn your life expenses into life experiences. We try to make it as easy as possible for you so that the only difficult decision you have to make is, what country are you going to fly to? And are you going to fly in business class or first class? Let that be the difficult question, not whether you should put your expenses onto CardUp or not.
Awesome. Casey, any last? What are we going to do next week?
Yeah, that's all for today. And next week, I'll be on to talk about reverse mortgage. Apparently in Malaysia, we have these. So we will talk a little bit about that. I'll do some research and I'll share our finding with you all. So stay tuned, because we do this kind of webinar every week. So if you are new, if this is your first time attending our webinar, we have this kind of webinar every week, and it's free to attend. And usually after, if you couldn't attend it, we have the replay put up on our Facebook page for a week before we archive for our paid members. So even without paying me any cents, you get all these for free. Nice. And now you just follow us. And the best place to get informed about all these webinars is through our email list. So sign up on our email list at KCLau.com. And please, now we have this promo for you, cardup.my/KCLau. Go and make use of it. So thanks, Candice, for attending. Thanks, Ian, for hosting. And thanks, Alex, for also answering a lot of the questions. Also, Calista. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much. That's a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
See you guys next time.
Bye.
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 Bye.